Welcome aboard. Time to grab your board and see if we can swim out into that sea of ideas. See if we can see that sales pipeline starting to curl up here. I love those California images. I don't know if anybody gets them but me here. But, a sales pipeline, it sort of emerges out of the ocean of ideas, doesn't it?
I think you can talk to any veteran sales rep, and I don't believe that any of them think the sales pipeline just emerges, Paul.
It just appears and sort of rises up out of the foam.
Yeah, just sit back. Don't worry about prospecting. Don't worry about just being proactive. Just wait for the pipeline.
Wait for the pipeline. Sooner or later, if you just keep paddling through the water, one will appear, and you can catch it and ride it.
See, it's spoken like a true Southern California. Just don't worry about it. It's all good. I'm gonna go sit at the beach for a while. When I come back, there'll be pipelines.
There'll be pipelines, and I'll just ride along, and I'll do well, and then it'll eventually dry off, and I'll go and get a burger, get a beer, and I'll come back, and another one will appear here.
So I think our guest today, who is the CEO, co-founder of a fast-growing startup, probably violently disagrees with the perspective that we are assuming is the truth here today. But how's the weather? I think last couple of times we've talked, we were dealing with beach drizzle. Things a little better today?
Don't go there. We're suicidal. It's gone on for 2 months on and off. This has never happened in all the 30 years I've lived in LA. It gets bright for a day, and then we're back to overcast and drizzly today. We're absolutely suicidal.
About the drought. You complain about the drought, and you complain about the water. I don't know. You still get to live in a beautiful place.
You know what's funny, and I know you want to jump into your show here, but one of the things I've always loved about Southern California is people will debate within themselves. If you live on the other side of the mountain in Temecula, oh, that's the perfect weather. No, if you live in San Diego, no, we even argue about little microclimates here. We're always debating, trying to find that perfect, like the perfect wave. We're trying to find the perfect place.
Perfect wave, the perfect pipeline. We're always seeking perfection. Life is not a destination, Paul. It is a journey. And that is what we're doing here today, just like every week on Sales Pipeline Radio. Thanks, everyone, for joining us to another episode. If you're listening live on the Sales Funnel Media Radio Network and you haven't turned off already, thank you for sticking with us and joining us for another episode. And for everyone who's subscribing to us on the podcast feed, thanks so much for joining us. Our numbers continue to grow. It's really it's gratifying and humbling to see the number of people that we're driving into Sales Pipeline. I think we were up to like 75,000 downloads. It's amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And every episode, if you want to catch up over the last 150 episodes, just like you're catching up on Game of Thrones, getting ready for the premiere, if you want to catch up on every past episode of Sales Pipeline Radio, past, present, and future, you can find them all at salespipelineradio.com. We are featuring every week some of the best and brightest minds in B2B sales and marketing. Today is absolutely no different. Very, very excited to have joining us today the CEO, co-founder of SketchDeck, Christopher Finneros. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
So let's talk about this idea that the sales pipeline just appears over the horizon. In your experience as a serial entrepreneur, is sales pipeline development that easy?
It's prospecting, generating leads is always something which requires work. Even if you have something that's awesome that everyone wants, you need to really educate your market, educate the leads, and put a lot of work into that. I was actually reading a quote recently that was saying, especially for startups, people always they always overestimate how hard it is to build the product and underestimate actually how much effort it is to acquire customers. And I think that's very true. It takes a lot of work to get your pipeline and get lots of customers for your product.
I love that quote. That people overestimate what it takes to get a product to market and underestimate what it takes to sell it. I became familiar with SketchDeck a little over a year ago, working with the folks at On24 on the Webinar World event, and they got me in touch with you guys to help me with my presentation deck, and I was really impressed, not only with the quality of the design, but the process. So talk a little bit about what you guys have done at SketchDeck to kind of marry good design with good technology and process, and why that's working so well for companies that are just continuing to drive new innovation and growth in their design and efforts there.
Stepping back a little bit and giving some context. So, SketchDeck, we focus on companies' everyday design needs. This term everyday design was something we coined to really reflect the things which are not those really enormous projects that you want to spend, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on in some cases, that you might work with a specialist boutique agency or a brand agency, but really focusing on those things which come up every day, as the name implies. And what we realized about these types of needs, and these are things like presentations, reports, white papers, social media ads, there's so many things which a business needs pretty frequently that's visual, is that, there's lots of them. And, often they come with quick turnaround time needs, budget constraints. The actual needs around these type of design is different. So if you're thinking about this one ginormous project where you've got months to spend on it and, tens of thousands of dollars potentially. So with this in mind, we realized that you actually didn't just need a team of designers. You actually needed to have a way of managing this efficiently so that we could deliver projects quickly within the right budget and at the right quality. So that's really what we've done with Sketch Deck. We have this awesome team of designers that are all around the world that work with you. And we have a software platform that actually makes the whole process really easy. So it starts from how you create a brief for a project. You have this really nice online ordering experience where you can describe the project. It prices it out for you. And then you have a really great feedback exchange system where you kind of see your design inside the browser and you can give feedback directly on top of the design, add your colleagues in to share and collaborate. And then finally, kind of bringing everything together in one really nice interface where all of the design projects that you've worked on with us live together, and you can easily find that project that you did last year rather than trying to search back through your email, which is the way it often happens today. So we really kind of believe in this marriage of both really talented designers and this powerful platform to deliver these everyday design needs.
Well, I think you and I talked a little bit about this last year, and after I'd used Sketch Deck to get my presentation ready, are you a design company or are you a technology company? Because you really do have good design, and I think a lot of companies, a lot of people have good design, but you marry that with a really efficient process and a great tool that just makes it easy to review, makes it easy to submit new stuff, makes it easy to find the old materials like you mentioned. How do you guys think about the business? How do you balance that? We're a design agency, but we're also focused on the process and technology that makes the overall process and means of getting the right design and the right deliverables done and done well and done quickly.
Educating the market is very important, and that's something we've had to do because we truly see ourselves as both. We really do see ourselves as a software company and a design company, and that's what makes us unique. There's lots of our companies that we work with. There's a bit of education up front because they're saying like, well, normally when we work with a design agency, it's all only design, nothing else. But we're like, yes, we have design, but the platform is a crucial component to it too. So honestly, we really see ourselves as both of those things coming together. And that's really what makes us unique and able to offer something that's quite different to traditional services, which are just focused on design, or, some platforms that are, only about the platform, but you need to bring designers on board yourself.
Love it. We're talking today on Sales Pipeline Radio with Christopher Finnerl. He's the CEO, co-founder of Sketch Deck. And, we're talking a lot about the intersection between design and technology. And because most of our audience is in the B2B space, we need to qualify what's the difference between design and B2B design. And eventually I want to talk about the blueprint for B2B design you guys have. You got some ebooks around it as well. I think a lot of hardcore pipeline marketers think, design oftentimes can get a little too whimsical, a little too focused on winning awards versus driving conversions. What's the perspective you guys have that makes B2B design different and unique?
Yeah, and I think it comes from that starting point, which is, I think there is still a perception that design is something which is only important in B2C and B2B doesn't need to worry about design. And I think we're seeing that that's changing a lot. The first thing I'd say is there's been growing research in this area around the impact that design has. The fact that design can have, real impact on the bottom line of companies. Recently there was a report out from McKinsey and Company that referenced this exact piece, and it was talking about companies in all industries. I think they had things like professional services and oil and gas, furthest away from B2C as you can think. They were having, design companies that invested in and focused on design were having, revenue impacts of upwards of 10% in comparison to their peers. So, thinking about design for B2B companies is now something which we're starting to prove out that there is real value to a company in doing this. And my perspective on, what's causing this and what's driving this is actually the fact that, millennials, are now very dominant in the workplace, and they grew up in the 90s with being surrounded by, good product design in the B2C space. And now, they have a strong connection with good design. They make decisions based on things that they like and like the look of. And now these millennials are in decision-making positions in companies, and they're applying that same design aesthetic that they grew up with into their B2B decision-making. And it's true, people now in making B2B decisions are choosing vendors that they want to work with based on how they feel about that vendor, and do they like what they see from their brand. And brand obviously is tied up immensely in the visual aesthetic that's coming across. So really, B2B design is definitely something that people need to take seriously now. I think it's going to continue to grow in importance.
I would agree. I think it's always been really important. I think, buildings don't write checks, people do. And I think people, like you said, appreciate good design. Design, implies clarity and confidence. And I think it can differentiate you from others. I think that, I think a lot of B2B marketers recently, maybe that are more focused on pipeline, may be wondering, where's the intersection between design and performance, right? Design that actually sort of creates a level of confidence and differentiation and even beauty in a B2B audience, all of which are important. But that also, if we're thinking about, tactical design elements like emails, like landing pages, how do you connect, how do you create something that is great design, but also drives performance, to a pipeline or to a math-driven marketer?
When I come back to the fact that, one of the things that we focus on with everyday design is this ability to deliver things quickly and within the right budget. Speed and budget enables more iteration. Within marketing, we should always be thinking about A/B testing, for example, when we're thinking about emails and different ads designs and stuff as well. And if you're, some more traditional solutions might take months to get projects turned around, whereas we enable things to be turned around within a few days or a week or so. That enables this ability to test different things out and figure out within your own lead generation funnels, which things are having the most impact. And so you can optimize conversion rates and such. That's super critical for marketers.
We got a couple more minutes here before our commercial break. How much education do you find that you are doing with clients on sort of the right balance of, design, performance, not watering down design to get good performance, not watering down performance on both sides? How much of what you're doing is education versus execution?
Many of the marketers we work with do understand the importance of design. I think, we're still very much a startup and working with people who are innovating in their own companies. So those people often do understand the importance of design. So I'd say most of the education that we're doing right now is about our model and how it's different to a traditional agency. Most of them already grasp design. But I'd say within the broader market as a whole, there's still a lot of education that needs to be done. And we're trying to do that with things like our white paper on B2B design, because I think a lot of people in the market still don't appreciate the importance of it. And also what the challenges are to actually make B2B design happen and work at the scale that's needed. So there's still more work for us to be done there towards the broader market.
We're going to take a quick break, pay some bills. We'll be right back with more with Christopher Farrell. He's the CEO and co-founder of SketchDeck. We're going to be talking more about B2B design, including some materials that SketchDeck has that can make everyone who's listening be a smarter, better B2B design expert. We'll be right back on Sales Pipeline Radio.
The way we do business is advancing faster than ever before. Yet amongst the disruptions, there's one pillar that stays standing through it all: the power of a relationship. Relationships are at the core of everything. So how are today's organizations developing, nurturing, and leveraging them to drive success? Download the new research report on the state of relationship marketing and learn how your team can bridge the gaps between relationships and revenue. Download your free report at HeinzMarketing.com. That's HEINZ marketing.com.
Okay, as we head back to Matt and his guest, I only have one question for Matt. What did the daddy tomato say to the baby tomato as he fell behind?
I don't know.
Catch up.
That's highly relevant to Heinz marketing there, Paul. I like that a lot. And since you gave a dad joke, I have to give a quick dad joke as well. Did you know that the Swedish Navy invented the barcode? Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
The Swedish Navy, yeah. So Swedish Navy, very advanced seafaring, country.
Yeah.
For trade, for war, for exploration. They got ships all over the place, and it's hard to keep track of them. So they created what really became the predecessor to the modern barcode, and they did that with one main objective because they wanted the ability to scan the Scandinavian.
Do we wait for the other shoe to fall?
No, it's the Scandinavian. Yeah, Christopher got it.
I didn't.
You got it right.
I got it. It took me a while, a little slow.
It was like Paul's like, I got it. It just wasn't funny.
That's exactly it. All right. Well, we'll try and improve our jokes next time.
That's a better joke in person because you can just all kind of guffaw and say, please stop telling jokes all in person.
I think people should send in jokes and we should read them here. That should be our new segment.
We will do. That's right. If you want, any reader that's listening, if you want to send me, Matt@HeinzMarketing.com, if you want to send me your best dad joke, we will give you credit. We will link to you in the show notes.
That's right.
And maybe that is our new post-commercial tradition on this show that already doesn't last long enough because we're just going to waste more time with bad dad jokes.
Exactly.
But not anymore today because I've got a lot more I want to talk to with our guest today, Christopher Finnerl, who's just waiting for us to be done telling bad jokes. He's the CEO and co-founder of SketchDeck. And I do want to talk about some of the assets you guys have available. So, if you want to learn more, I highly encourage everyone to go to sketchdeck.com. We'll have a link to that in our show notes. Have a link also to your B2B design ebook. But I also want to talk about something you put together called the Blueprint for B2B Design. Talk a little bit about what that is and why B2B marketers and sales professionals, quite frankly, should be going to get a copy of that.
Yeah, sure. So what we did with this white paper is we really wanted to take a look at what design looks like inside B2B organizations. So it covers a little bit of things we've talked about so far, initially about the importance of design. And, I mentioned already some of that research that points towards the actual impact that design has inside B2B organizations. So that's kind of where it begins. And then it talks about what are the challenges inside organizations to getting design happening? Because, we see lots of organizations who start to care about design, but they still struggle. And one of the concepts we introduce here is what we've called the B2B design pyramid. So we really break down the needs of design inside an organization into three components. If you kind of have in your head a pyramid or a triangle, we break it down to the top section, which we think of as brand strategy. So this is the real tip, the most high-profile part of a brand, and it's about of designing an organization, and it's really about defining the look and feel of that organization. It's your logo, it's your color palettes, it's your kind of visual kind of storytelling that you're doing. It really defines what that brand is, and that's really at the top. And then we have this second layer down that we really think of as flagship design, and this is things like, if you were doing some big ad on TV or you've got some kind of big event experience. These are the projects which really stand out for the business. So, very large events. And then with that, the final section we think of then is this everyday design, which is all the things which go on every single day inside the organization, which don't quite have the same individual recognition that a big flagship event has, but there's many of them. And what we talk about is what do you need to do at each of these different stages of the pyramid? Because I think one thing that people fall into is think we just need one design solution that will cover all of our needs. And reality is that does not work. Typically what we at least see is that for that very top section, that brand strategy section, that is where you want to be engaging with the best brand agencies out there, and they're the ones who can really help craft that and guide that. And that's normally in conjunction as well with some kind of internal head of brand or creative director as well, who are kind of working on that. And then this next section down, these flagship events, this is where some smaller agencies come into play, and other agencies that specialize in these types of activities really come into their own. Some companies build out teams internally to cover these types of activities as well. So, you can see already there's a different set of needs and a different solution there. And then finally with the everyday design, this is where we really feel we come in and can play strongly here, which is you need to have a solution which can really keep up with the scale of those needs and deliver things at the speed and the budgets that are required for those design needs. And it's often this bottom section which fails because organizations try and work with maybe their traditional agencies for this, and they can really struggle, or they try and build out their own internal teams to cover this type of work, and that again doesn't quite work. And we go into details as to why that's the case. So yeah, we really wanted to kind of give this framework to people to really think about how to, think about the needs that are happening inside their organization and make sure they're really picking the best solutions for each of those needs that they have.
I like the way you're thinking about that, and I think it's a good framework for people to do. And I think you mentioned that too many companies will just go with sort of one design solution. What are some other mistakes that you see people making relative to B2B design, either tactical or strategic? What are things that people should either watch out for or avoid?
Yeah, so the first one we've talked about is that not putting importance on design at all. So that's an easy one to fix. Like, there's lots of evidence to say that design has impact. Make sure you value design and invest in it. That's one. The second one is kind of appreciating that design is important, but ignoring the problems. And this is one that we see a lot where, so we primarily work with marketing teams, and some of the prospective customers we speak to come to us because they say like, hey, I've got marketers in my organization who I've hired as marketers who are spending 25% of their time as designers. And this comes from the fact that people ignore, they're like, we don't need to worry about this. It will solve itself. And you end up having people in your organization doing things which they're not best skilled at, trying to then, be designers and taking a lot longer to do things and not creating the quality of work that's required. So definitely kind of watch out for just kind of ignoring the problem and sweeping it under the rug, because you do still bear that cost. It still needs to happen. And then the other thing we see is that people cut programs that should happen. Like they're not doing enough A/B testing on things. They're cutting back on brands when they really should be thinking about things that need brand and need design. So, actually cutting back on marketing activities to try and, save what they need to be spending on design. So those are three mistakes that we often see.
Love it. Well, we've only just got a couple more minutes here. Christopher Finnerl, he is the CEO, co-founder of Sketchdeck. He is a serial entrepreneur, has been doing this for a while. We'll spend some time at McKinsey before that. And just curious, in your career, who are some of the people that you have learned from, that you have benefited the most from? Professors, authors, speakers, alive or dead. Who are some folks that have been a big impact on your life and career, and you might recommend other people check out as well?
Yeah, great question. So I'm actually going to talk to some organizations more than specific people. So, McKinsey experience taught me a lot about how businesses at the biggest level inside, the US and the UK, where I was from originally, how they operate. And you kind of really opens your eyes to kind of how things operate and things that are broken. And I think that's really, really cool experience I had. We actually took Sketchdeck through Y Combinator, which was a startup accelerator out here in Silicon Valley. And that really taught me a lot about how to start a company, getting real focus on product market fit, focusing on fast iteration and really getting feedback from your customers early on. And a lot of that, a lot of those thoughts and thinking has really come into how we've built and grown Sketchdeck. And, for anyone out there that's thinking about starting companies or, is an entrepreneur themselves, there's great resources on the Y Combinator website, and Paul Graham's essays are a great source of inspiration too. Those are a couple of places that have really kind of helped me as I've been building Sketchdeck and growing my entrepreneurial career.
If we had another half hour, I'd spend a lot more time talking about just the entrepreneurial journey. I think it's unique to those of us that have, built and grown businesses, but there's an awful lot to learn there for anyone that is just building their career, especially those in sales and marketing. And, you started the conversation by talking about the overinvestment in product and the underinvestment or the underappreciation and what it takes to sell it. I think is alone very good advice. So, I want to thank again our guest today. We've been talking with Christopher Finnerl. He's the CEO and co-founder at Sketchdeck. Check him out at sketchdeck.com. We'll have links to the B2B design ebook as well as the blueprint for B2B design up there. We will be here again live next week. Next week, Paul, we have Dan McDade. I consider him not the godfather, maybe the dean of B2B sales development. He is, if I were to get that question, Paul, of who are the people that have influenced you the most, I have learned more about B2B sales and sales development from Dan than almost anyone else, and just a solid human being to add on top of that. So next week we'll have Dan McDade joining us to make sure you don't miss that. But for today, we are unfortunately out of time. Thank you, Christopher, for joining us. For my great producer, Paul, this is Matt Hines. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sales Pipeline Radio.
You've been surfing the sales pipeline today with the Silver Surfer himself, Matt Hines from Hines Marketing, right here on the Funnel Radio channel for at-work listeners like you.